Welcome everybody to the March 5th River Falls City Planning Commission. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Holtkamp.
Here.
LaRue. Here. Moody.
Here.
Odine.
Here.
Prendergast. Here. Gormanson. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. Okay, next we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the November 7th Planning Commission meeting.
I move approval.
I second.
Okay, first and second, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move on to public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that has something they want to say, come on up. We'll have a 2-minute time limit for everybody. So when you do come up, we have a piece of paper and a pen. If you could just sign your name, address, phone number, that'd be perfect. So if there's anybody who wants to say anything, now would be the time.
Good evening, Mayor, members. I'm Bill Warner. I live on 975th Street in the neighborhood just south of the proposed annexation. Just to give you a little context, we have 35 houses and 1 duplex in that neighborhood. There's 1 access in and out. It's very quiet. Our streets are pretty much for our residents only. There's no access other than 805th onto 29. And my major concern is that this annexation and development does not become an excuse for the city to start connecting city roads and the rest of 975th to the rest of our neighborhood. I know there are some drawings on plans that show rights of way, and we're thinking that would change the character of our community dramatically if the traffic from this neighborhood would be coming through ours. I have talked to your staff who say that as far as they know, the concept is for access to this property to the north. And if that is something that can be on the record, that would be fine. We would appreciate that. But that's my major concern. There is one other item that I'd like to share. I don't see if the zoning to the north is low density residential. To the east, the zoning is low density residential. To the south, we are low density residential. I'm not seeing the rationale, aside from it being drawn on the comprehensive plan, to make this medium density residential. So those are my concerns, and I appreciate your attention.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
My name is Pat Bilberry, and I live right in town here, within walking distance of the City Hall, as a matter of fact. And I'm here to express my concerns about the direction that our city's taken in terms of not putting enough attention on actually attracting more jobs and more businesses in River Falls without thought to when adding houses, if you don't have any jobs in River Falls, what are these people going to do to work? If they have to go out of town, they got to drive in the freeways, they got to pollute the air, they got to, waste gas. And so I strongly encourage you to consider putting more priority on promoting local jobs and local businesses rather than turning our town into more of a bedroom community. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Betsy Gerbeck, and I live in the division south of the proposed annexed area. We have low-density housing south of this proposed annexation. We have low-density, low-density housing to the east of this annexation. And it makes sense to me to also, if you're gonna put houses in the proposed annex area, make them low density. If that means that it can't then be annexed, so be it. But I don't think that the high density housing fits with the neighborhood, the two neighborhoods that are proximate to this annexed, proposed annex.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, move on to ordinances. Oh,
My name's Dan Linscott. I'm a local homeless advocate, and I'd like to make you aware of something that you may not be aware. The fast growth that Mr. Simpson said the city has gone through recently, and it looks like we'll go through in the future, places a very large tax burden on existing property owners. That's got a secondary effect. That means that property owners who are also landlords have to raise their rent. And in raising rent, people on fixed incomes can no longer afford their housing in this town. There needs to either be some accommodation made for that, not just for the taxpayers' case, but for those that are on fixed incomes, mostly elderly and disabled, that are forced out of their homes by the fast rising taxes in River Falls. Thank you.
anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll move on to ordinance resolutions. The first one is a review of an annexation petition and proposed rezoning for the Haskins and Chaffee properties. This is N8118 Highway 29. Emily Shively will have us a little presentation for us. Emily is one of our planners.
Thank you, Mayor and Plan Commission. I'm Emily Shively, the Assistant Director of Community Development. So this item is an annexation petition and proposed rezoning for the Haskins and Chaffee properties. An annexation petition is a request from a landowner to become part of the City of River Falls. The Plan Commission's role in annexations is to provide a recommendation to City Council on the land use and zoning aspects of the proposed annexation. I'm being asked to be louder. Is that better? Speaking a little closer? A little better? Okay, I'll just move my mouse up here so I can get closer to the mic. Okay, again, Plan Commission's role is in annexations is to provide a recommendation to City Council on the land use and zoning aspects of the proposed annexation. To confirm that the proposed annexation area is contiguous to the city boundary and recommend a zoning classification that is consistent with the comprehensive plan should the area be annexed to the city. The Plan Commission is not reviewing any specific proposals for the area at this time. If the annexation is approved, those applications will come later. So a unanimous petition for annexation has been submitted by Andrea and Luke Chaffee and Kevin and Cynthia Haskins for 2 parcels adjacent to Highway 29 south of Larson Park. So that's this parcel here and this parcel in the center. The petition is to annex approximately 22.66 acres from the town of River Falls to the city of River Falls. The property owners are working with a developer who would like to build a new neighborhood on the property. Although we have not received development applications for the property at this time, the developer has provided a concept for what they would like to build on the property. The existing home at N8118 Highway 29 will remain and become integrated into a new single-family neighborhood. In addition, the developer would be seeking approval for a supportive housing facility for adults with autism on the north portion of the property. Again, the details of the development are not being reviewed at this time. However, it's helpful to understand the type of development that may be proposed as we evaluate the land use and infrastructure in the area. City Code lists items that should be considered when an annexation petition is received. Is the location contiguous with the city boundary? And is the current or proposed use of the area compatible with adjacent land uses? If the area is annexed to the city, an appropriate zoning district should be applied. In determining which zoning district is most appropriate, we review the city comprehensive plan, zoning ordinances, and the adjacent land uses. For the first consideration, this image shows that the proposed annexation area is contiguous to the city boundary, to the north along Larson Park, and to the west along Highway 29. For the second consideration, the parcels are adjacent to residential and recreational land uses, and residential development is anticipated to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. In considering a zoning classification for the area, if it were to be annexed to the city, the comprehensive plan future land use map provides guidance. The future land use map designates this area for medium density residential development, which may include a mix of housing types, including single family, two family, and small and mid-sized multifamily apartment buildings with densities ranging from 6 to 12 dwelling units per acre. The corresponding zoning district with this future land use classification is R2 Multiple Family Medium Density Residence District. This zoning classification would allow for the development of a new single-family neighborhood, and the supportive housing proposal would then be reviewed via special use permit. In summary, the proposed annexation area is contiguous with city boundaries. The future land use classification for the area is medium density residential, and residential development is anticipated to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. Staff recommends that the request for annexation and application of an R2 medium density residence district zoning classification for these two properties be forwarded to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. First, I'll take a motion on this, and we can talk.
I move that we forward the annexation proposal with a favorable recommendation to City Council.
Second.
Okay, first and second. Now, questions?
Emily, may I ask Emily?
Yep.
So from what you tell me, it's in addition to the single residential facility, currently they're proposing single family homes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, but it's the current zoning might allow for something different as well.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
My only question is, can it be low density? Does it have to be medium?
So this is going back to our comprehensive plan future land use designation for the area. And as the city was thinking about how we're going to grow in the next 10 to 20 years, some of the values and principles that came into play are that we want to maintain sort of our center of gravity of the community at our core. So around downtown and those surrounding neighborhoods. So we do anticipate growth happening at our edges, but a couple of things we want to be taken into consideration. And one is that we focus more units of housing closer to where goods and services and parks and amenities are available. Also, we want to make sure that we have efficient use of infrastructure. So providing water and sewer and stormwater to new neighborhoods is expensive. And so the more housing units that can take advantage of that infrastructure, it makes it more affordable for the entire city. So as we looked at areas very close by the city, we wanted to give them the flexibility to have more housing units in those areas that are close to the infrastructure and amenities. And then as we go further out to our edges, so beyond the neighborhoods that are already in the towns, we recognize that those may be lower density. So again, wanting to make sure we have more housing units also to meet the needs of our housing needs study that says that we need all types of housing at ranges of densities, and then the efficient use of infrastructure.
So I don't know if it's appropriate to talk, I mean, 'cause since we only have the concept plan now, is it appropriate to talk about access into the site and like where the road would come in, if it would connect, you know, could people who live in this neighborhood walk to Larson Park? Potentially they could, you know, ride a bike to the high school that's pretty close if you can cut through the neighborhood that way. What does the access look like? Because I think you were, anyway, I'll just shut up.
Yep, I can speak fairly generally about that right now because we don't have a specific proposal in front of us right now. But there are no future road right-of-ways accessible to this parcel from the north, south, or east. So Highway 29 is where access to this area would come from. And then in terms of walking and biking and connectivity, there is a bike trail on Highway 29 right now, and so that would remain. And then it's our policy in the subdivision ordinance to require sidewalks in new subdivisions. And so having that connectivity from this neighborhood to that trail, then into Larson Park and to the rest of the city parks and trails.
And so that the road on the south side of Larson Park, it's like, I guess it's more of a driveway to like the utility shed that's there on the back side of Larson Park. That's not going to be an access point for, as of now.
So that may end up being an emergency only access point, depending on what develops at the north end of the site.
So you're talking about all of these, whether it be low density or medium density housing, all, excuse me, coming on 229
Correct.
at the curve.
Somewhere along that right of way.
Item number 6 of the ordinance says that the city agrees to pay the town of River Falls for 5 years an amount equal to the amount of the property taxes that the town of River Falls levied on the territory. Do we know what that amount is?
I can't give you that amount off the top of my head, but we could figure out what that is. It's what the current property taxes are, and so that information would be available on the county website.
And that is that's a condition of every annexation, is it not?
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's the tax on the undeveloped property, not what the taxes will be once it's developed. Okay.
Correct.
Correct. It's to minimize the effect on the township.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor of giving this to the council?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, next move on to review of a proposed change to the general development plan and replat of the St. Croix Habitat for Humanity Eco Village to create a lot for single-family home development. And I will take a motion on this.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, first and a second, questions?
Is there someone here from Habitat?
I can give a brief presentation if like.
Oh, I'm sorry, Emily.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, Emily, you give us a
You're just
presentation,
moving
then we'll
right
have
along.
questions. I'm sorry.
I'll describe that, and then Dave Christensen is here. from
Geez,
Habitat.
it's been so long since we had a planning commission meeting. How do you do this?
Okay, well, and this will be brief. The next item on the agenda is a request from St. Croix Habitat for Humanity, St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity, to change the planned unit development and replat an outlot in the Eco Village to allow for construction of a single-family home. So the Eco Village planned unit development was approved in 2012, and it included an outlot at the north end of the neighborhood at the corner of West Maple Street and South Apollo Road, on which space was identified for a future community building to serve the development. However, due to financial considerations, staffing and ownership changes over time, St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity is proposing to change the planned unit development plan and replat the outlot for the construction of the single-family home. So the role of the Plan Commission in this request is to review the proposed change to the plan unit development plan and make a determination as to whether it is not considered a significant change, and then review the proposed replat of Outlot 1 with, for conformance with the subdivision code, and provide a recommendation to the City Council. So plan unit development is reviewed and approved in 2 phases. The general development plan, which sets the policy for land use, circulation, parks, and open space, and then flexibility requested from the underlying zoning. And then the specific implementation plan is this detailed site plan for the new neighborhood. So when a change is made to a planned unit development, the Plan Commission is to make a determination as to whether or not the proposed change constitutes a substantial alteration from the original PUD. If so, the applicant must go back through the 2-step process. If not, the change can be deemed to be consistent with the intent of the PUD and may proceed as proposed. And then in order for Outlot 1 to be utilized for single-family home development, the outlot restriction needs to be removed from the plat. And this request is reviewed against the comprehensive plan, zoning, and subdivision ordinances. The original PUD for the Eco Village created this outlot at the northern end, and north is to the right on this, kind of tipped on its side to fit on the screen a little bit better. And this, and I've kind of blown it up here so you can see more detail of it. So again, this is West Maple, South Apollo along this side. And this lot is encumbered by some easements. We have a sanitary sewer easement that crosses diagonally the northwest corner of the parcel, and then a storm sewer easement that runs along the east side of this parcel. And so there was an area just identified for future community center location because it's not a large buildable area. So the applicant had stated that the previous staff didn't have capacity to move forward with this project. And then there have been changes in ownership to the Eco Village homes and a disbanding and reforming of the Homeowners Association. There's also been a lot of staff turnover at St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity, and their organization has now set a new goal for this parcel to utilize it for the construction of a small home, most likely for a veteran. So in considering this change in the planned unit development plan, the proposed use of the property for a single-family home is consistent with the underlying R2 multifamily medium density residential zoning for the area. It would provide a new affordable housing unit, which is an identified need in our 2022 housing needs analysis. It's consistent with the goals and policies in the comprehensive plan, particularly the housing chapter of the plan. And so staff is recommending that this change in the planned unit development plan not be considered a significant change and allowed to proceed. So the second piece of this is removing the restriction, the outlot restriction. So an outlot is a parcel of land other than a buildable lot shown on a subdivision plat. Outlots can be created to preserve open space. They can also be parcels of land intended to be converted to lots in the future. An outlot can't be used as a buildable lot unless it meets the design standards of the subdivision ordinance and has been converted to a lot through the subdivision process. So this proposed replat retains the existing dimensions of Outlot 1. So all of these boundaries remain the same size. So it's not growing, it's not shrinking. And the existing sanitary sewer and storm sewer easements will be remaining on the property. Staff has reviewed this for conformance with the subdivision code for a residential lot in an R2 district and found that it meets those requirements. So then in summary, the proposed change in use of Outlot 1 from a community center serving the development to a residential use to allow for construction of a single family home is consistent with the residential character of the Eco Village PUD, the underlying R2 zoning district, and the goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. So this may be considered to not be a significant change in the planned unit development. The proposed replat of Outlot 1 to allow for residential development is in conformance with the subdivision code. So if Plan Commission determines that the change in use is not significant in the planned unit development, staff recommends that the Plan Commission forward the proposed replat to council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Emily. So we have a first and a second. Do we have questions?
do we need to have a vote on finding whether or not it's significant before we can vote to move it forward, or can we just do it all as one thing?
So I would do them separate, because if it is considered significant, they would need to go back through the PUD process. You would need to evaluate it for the policy and all of that.
So I guess, should I make a motion to determine if this is a significant change to the,
Significant or insignificant?
yeah, I guess insignificant.
It's insignificant.
Yes, insignificant change to the underlying PUD.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so we got a first and a second. If we consider this
That this is an
insignificant,
change.
sorry, insignificant to the change. So does that make sense to everybody?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it's insignificant enough, so then you want us to vote on the, and we have a first and a second on the original.
On the original, the Re-Plat.
Right. So questions on the original?
Just a comment. I think it's the best possible use of that piece of property, and I'm delighted that Habitat is going to build another unit in River Falls.
My question is the single-family home that's going to be built there going to have the same specifications as the other houses in the eco-village with all of the solar panels and the insulation? And I know Habitat builds many houses, but is this going to be like more of the same of their others, or is it going to fit with the eco-village with all of their specifications to build there?
That's a great question that I would hand off.
That's why I thought, is there someone here?
This is going to be a conventionally built house, but up to current standards and all energy use and energy considerations. We are applying for a grant to put solar panels on it. This will be a single-story, 990 square foot house with a single car garage, detached.
Okay, but it won't keep the same standards as the eco-village homes?
It will not.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it part of the same HOA?
Actually, it probably won't be part of the HOA at all. We've already spoken with the HOA, which is, I think, controlled by Bordertown Realty now. They oversee it. And it doesn't sound like it's going to be part of it.
So given that the lot's right on the corner of those two streets, where's the driveway going to be? Is it going to be kind of more to the south, or do you know that yet?
Yes, it's going to be south. It'll be on the Apollo, off of Apollo. I actually do have a little diagram if you want to see it. I don't have anything to put overhead, but I can.
No, I think that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're fine.
Okay.
Okay, so it won't be part of the HOA.
It will not be.
Okay, so it's basically a Habitat house you're
It
building,
is.
and hopefully for a vet?
Yes, in fact, we already have 3 applicants. if this
Wonderful,
happens.
wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Will it be accessible? Is the intention to have it be designed for accessible?
It's not completely ADA because of the size of the house, we couldn't make it accessible.
Makes sense.
Anybody else have anything on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming up. Next, Emily, once again, will give us a planning update.
Thank you. Just some quick things, unless you've had any questions. I don't have any applications for April, so we may or may not meet. Otherwise, we'll meet on May 7th next. I did want to note in the monthly report included in your packet, we have our new 2024 community development major projects. You can take a look at that for kind of some highlights of what we'll be working on this year. And then lastly, I wanted to introduce our new senior planner who just started a couple of weeks ago. This is Harley Melhorn. He has moved to River Falls from Chandler, Arizona. So our mild winter has been a gift, our gift to him as he gets settled in. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Emily?
I do on the flood. We sent out an RFP for a flood study, and that was due, I think, sometime in middle February. What's the status of that?
Sure. So we did receive 3 responses to that RFP, and they will be going to council next week to select who will be doing the study. And we anticipate that getting underway probably this spring, early summer, and taking about 6 to 9 months to complete.
And that's for the Hoffman Park Basin?
Correct.
And we've got some money from FEMA?
Yes, it's a FEMA grant.
It's fully paid by FEMA?
That's good. question. I think I can get back to you on that.
Okay, okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. That was relatively painless. Remember how to run a meeting.